I got a beef with Leonardo DiCaprio.
No, we're not doing that right now.
Please. I can't
And
wait.
scene.
It's a big beef, though.
I know you've got beef. We got it.
Okay,
I'm the one who had veal.
Okay, but do you want to hear about my beef
Mhm.
with Leonardo DiCaprio?
Please.
Okay, so
You're oozing.
the man refuses to date women over 25.
This I've heard.
Okay, do you know how old Leonardo DiCaprio is?
I do not.
47 years old.
Oh, that scares me.
He's 3 years younger than me.
Okay. Wait, what?
Huh?
Oh, yeah. I can math.
Do the math. So not only am I too old for Leonardo DiCaprio, I'm the mother of a child who's too old for Leonardo DiCaprio.
This is your beef?
That's my
Hi, I'm Paige Lloyd.
And I'm Rebecca Hadfield.
And we are the Insufferable Twins.
I was going to say #assholes.
That too.
And this is...
Made from what's left.
Okay, so why are we talking about Leonardo DiCaprio?
Well, today we're going to talk about Winnipeg's connection to the Titanic.
Ooh.
Turns
That's
out Winnipeg...
surprising.
Yeah.
Surprising connection to the Titanic.
Yeah.
Yeah, do you want to kick us off with why or whom? Whom?
Well, spoiler alert.
Yeah.
The ship goes down.
Okay, so this is why I didn't watch the Titanic,
In advance of the podcast.
the movie, because it came out in 1997.
Yeah.
It took me until 2008 to actually sit down and watch the movie because I knew how it ended. So I didn't want to waste the time getting to that.
Okay.
I'm just saying.
That really shortens the list of things you could watch in this world.
I know.
No documentary.
Big Celine Dion fan, too.
Unless it's really current events.
Okay, so Winnipegger Mark Fortune.
Yes.
He actually came to Winnipeg in 1874.
Pretty much one of the first.
Yeah, 1 year after Winnipeg was incorporated.
How many people were in Winnipeg at that time?
Approximately 2,000.
Did you know that, like,
Ish.
outside of Winnipeg at that time, it wasn't even really referred to as Winnipeg?
No?
That was kind of a local thing at the time.
Is that true?
It is. Oh, yeah. This is probably a good time for us to tell you that you should take nothing from this podcast to your next cocktail party.
Do not use it in a thesis or for any research purposes.
These are not researched facts.
I should also say that the opinions expressed here are not those of my employer.
I should also... Oh, shoot. Okay, I can't say that.
No, you are the employer. Okay, so Mark Fortune,
You tell me about Mark Fortune.
real estate developer.
In a city that was just a
Brand new
infant
city.
baby.
He served on Winnipeg City Council, not once but twice.
Somebody had to.
He founded the Winnipeg Real Estate Board.
That's so cool.
That's so cool. President of the Granite Curling Club.
Also very cool.
Apparently a very good curler at the time.
Excellent.
President of the St. Andrews Society.
I didn't know that.
Fact. Founding member of the St. Charles Country Club and a big member of Knox Church.
Oh, I heard something about the bells.
The bells at Knox Church. Yes. Okay. So most famously, Mark Fortune went. Did we say that he went down in the Titanic?
I'm not sure we said it.
Okay. Well, spoiler alert. To save you from watching the 3-hour movie, we lost Mark Fortune in the Titanic.
We're not trying
disaster.
to save people from watching it.
Okay. So, but the chimes at Knox Church are dedicated to him.
They are indeed. And, I think
And chime to this day. Or do they peal? Does a chime chime or does a chime peal?
Is it a bell or a chime?
Oh.
Research might have told
when
us
is a
this.
door not a door?
When it's a jar.
Okay, so a lot of Winnipeggers would know the Fortune building, the Fortune block on Main Street.
Yes. When was the Fortune block built?
Oh, Paige, I don't know. Would that be sometime around 1882?
It would. That was a good guess.
I know, thank you. After last week's shaming.
Not to be confused with 1982.
Okay, so Fortune, he built the Fortune building, or he had the Fortune building
Block.
built.
Yep.
The block. Block or building? Block.
Well,
He had the
Fortune
block built. The
Yes.
block was built for Fortune.
You don't
Called
know-
the Fortune block.
You don't know how much it cost him?
I don't.
Do you want to hazard a guess? Don't look at my notes.
At that time, $30,000.
Oh, I'm really impressed with your guess. It's $35,000.
Really?
Yeah. Pretty sure you couldn't place the cornerstone for that now.
No. He only owned the Fortune block for a year. That is correct.
Yeah.
He sold it to
McDonald. He's got more than one name.
Mr. McDonald.
He doesn't have 4 names, though. Alexander McDonald.
Yes.
Known as Sandy.
And he built the McDonald building next to the Fortune block.
Yeah.
But many people think it's the same building.
Yeah. This is in a similar fashion to the nightclub building. We're all about the fun
See how
facts.
it comes full circle. Okay, so tell us about the Fortune building. Because we almost lost the Fortune building.
It's the 5th oldest building in Winnipeg.
Mm-hmm.
Would you like to hazard a guess at the architectural style?
I'm going to guess it's High Victorian Italianate.
Well, as a matter of fact, it is. It's almost like you researched this building.
After my last shaming. It's because I had vowed that I was going to guess Italianate for every building that you brought up.
Why are you
and it only
revealing
took me 3 episodes to be right.
That's pretty impressive.
I know.
I'm impressed. Did you guess Italianate for the nightclub building?
I did. Didn't I?
I don't know.
I think I did. And for one of the Salisbury House at least.
Did you say High Victorian Italianate, though?
I didn't.
Oh, okay.
I didn't. Do you want a fun fact about the Fortune building?
I sure do.
From back in the day. It housed retail and office space.
Yeah.
And was home to the first medical clinic in Winnipeg run by women.
What? I did not know that.
Fact. Mother and daughter.
That's really cool.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. The first women's clinic.
The first women to practice medicine practiced out of the Fortune building.
That's awesome.
And there was a butcher there also, unrelated.
We hope.
But just to give you the scope,
the breadth
of the breadth of the businesses at the Fortune building.
That's very cool.
Which reminds me, excuse me.
Oh, what are you opening right now?
I am opening a Times Changed High and Lonesome Ale.
And what is the Times Change High and Lonesome Ale?
It was brewed with Vessel Brewery in partnership with the Times Changed High and Lonesome Club, which, spoiler alert, is located in the Fortune block. Oh boy.
Oh boy.
I'm just pouring some into my coffee mug here.
Beer in a coffee mug. Because we're classy like that.
We're classy like that.
Do you want to know something else? Another fun fact about the Times Change High and Lonesome Club?
Sure.
The Pollard family in Winnipeg purchased the Fortune block in 2016 and had it listed on the Heritage Planner's list of assets. And previous to the purchase of the Fortune block, the Pollard family had purchased Mark Fortune's pool table.
What?
Yeah, from his house.
The billiard table
The
of
billiard
Mark
table.
Fortune.
Yeah, and that billiard table is currently in the bar.
And they're not afraid people are going to spill on it?
I think that it's actually covered.
Okay.
I don't think it's actually a usable pool table. I think it's functioning as a table, but I think it's there.
That is a fun fact.
Isn't that fun?
That's a fun fact. So the building was saved because it was going to be demolished, slated for demolition before it was declared a heritage site?
It's a very expensive building to restore. Primarily, actually, the McDonald block, because through its history, the McDonald block is the one that suffered the most changes.
It was a hotel?
It was a
for
hotel.
quite a while?
It was a rooming house. It was a number of things. And through those changes, it suffered many, many renovations and probably the most amount of damage to the original wood and the original structure of the building. I understand that the actual the McDonald block portion of the building needed a great deal of work during that renovation, whereas the Fortune block is almost exactly as it was. It was in really good shape.
Cool.
So you pretend to be interested in what I'm telling you.
I'm just enjoying this beer.
Oh yeah, tell me about the beer.
Okay, well, the beer is really good. It's a British Golden Ale, and it's darn delightful. And I'm enjoying it out of this very fancy mug from
Where's the mug from?
Modern Electric Lunch.
Tell me about Modern Electric Lunch.
Well, it's a cafe. Would you call it a cafe? Coffee shop? Restaurant?
All of the above?
It's an eating establishment.
Yeah.
In the Fortune block. And it takes its name from a restaurant that was in that block in around 1919.
A key date for Winnipeg.
Exactly. And what happened in 1919?
Oh, please don't ask me.
Oh, no. We're not. Winnipeg General
That's a
Strike.
whole different episode.
General Strike
That's
page.
a whole different episode.
Okay, so in 1919, Modern Electric Lunch opened in the Fortune block, affectionately known as Electric Lunch Number 2. And it was the first restaurant in Winnipeg with an electric refrigerator.
Come on.
Fact.
That's fantastic.
Fact. So when they were doing the building renovations, they actually went into one of the walls and they found receipts from the Modern Electric Lunch.
I heard a rumor.
Yes.
Those receipts are in there.
They are. You can go see them.
That's cool.
And you can buy a mug.
And what does the mug say?
Business lunch.
Sure it does.
Back in the day, you could get a business lunch for 35 cents. 4 courses.
I think the first time you told me that story, you referred to it as a businessman's lunch.
A businessman's lunch. I think I was inspired by the businesswoman's special in Romeo and Michelle.
So what else do you want to talk about in the Fortune block?
Do we want to talk about the Fortune block? Do we want to talk about Fortune's house? Do we want to talk about Fortune's family?
All of it. But before we get on to that,
yes,
I have another fun fact about the Fortune block.
See, I knew you had something. Do tell. Hit me.
So during the renovation, the general contractor opened up some flooring or some such and found a photo of a woman advertising asbestos floor tiles.
Ooh.
And this woman, so you have to imagine, she's in a 1950s dress.
Yeah.
And she's installing the floor tile. And
Herself.
Uh-huh. And essentially the advertisement was that it's so easy to install this asbestos floor tile, you can do it while Sunday roast is in the oven.
Would recommend washing your hands after installing all that asbestos tile.
And your lungs. I love it. I love the image of a woman in her beautiful 50s housewife dress.
Yeah.
On the floor on her knees, putting asbestos tile
just
down.
A quick job, just laying a quick floor. We installed the floor in our kitchen a couple years ago, and it was the peel and stick tile.
Yeah.
We had tiles stuck to our bodies. We were both completely covered in adhesive.
On purpose?
Oh no.
It
was just a messy job.
It wasn't an act of terrorism on behalf of one of the two of you?
Yeah, my son moved out shortly after.
No coincidence. One other thing that I think is kind of interesting, maybe more interesting to me than anyone else, Alexander McDonald, who bought the Fortune block and then subsequently constructed its twin, sort of fraternal twin, also built 246 Dromore, which is a big, beautiful home on Dromore, still there today.
Where is Dromore?
It's in Crescentwood.
Okay. The real Crescentwood or the Crescentwood I believe that I live in?
The real Crescentwood.
According to the Facebook group I belong to.
North of Corden.
Oh, the actual
Crescentwood.
Okay.
Original Crescentwood. 246 Dromore is 2 doors down from a childhood friend of mine. Spent a lot of time there.
Hanging out with McDonald's ghost.
Yeah.
Neat. He was a bit of a cool guy.
He was a cool guy.
Lots of volunteering.
Yeah. He was a rather private man. Mm-hmm. But it seems to me he did a whole lot of really good things in Winnipeg. None of which I can list.
For a future episode.
So yeah.
But that's like my favorite kind of person. Who does all the good things and then doesn't brag about them.
Yeah. He's I wanted to say he's our people.
He's not.
He's not. He's so much better than our people.
We should only aspire to be his people. Okay, so speaking of homes then, in the Crescentwood area.
What a transition.
I know.
Ooh, that was beautiful.
Segue.
Holy
I
smokes.
segued.
All right.
Okay, the Fortune home was built at 383 Wellington Crescent.
It's also a big, beautiful home.
It is. Do you care to guess what style it is?
Guess.
It has Tudor elements.
It has a lot of Tudor elements. I've seen sources listed as Queen Anne Revival. I'm not really sure I agree with that. Scottish Baronial came up as well.
Baronial?
Baronial?
Okay.
Baronial?
Like colonial, but baronial.
The Baronesses, the Barons
Gotcha.
from Scotland.
Okay, but a big 36-room house.
Yep.
Built between 1910 1911.
Yep. How long did Mr. Fortune get to stay in that home?
Not so long.
Untimely events took him.
Yeah, so the Fortune family, Mark Fortune and his wife Mary, went on an epic vacation. They took a trip to Europe and the Middle East to celebrate their youngest son's graduation, young Charles of 19. They took Mabel, Alice, and Ethel, the daughters, left two of the older kids at home, and went on this huge trip. And to get back, they boarded the Titanic.
Would you care to guess how much their tickets were?
Who did their research? $57.
I'm gonna tell you this much. It was in British pounds,
Okay.
or at least the information was listed in British pounds.
57 pounds.
North of that.
Oh.
Yep.
Okay, so if you could get a lunch at that time for 35 cents,
Yep.
112 British pounds.
Upper deck compartments. You're gonna have to go higher.
Really?
Yep.
$142.
263 pounds.
Holy, each.
An equivalent $18,000 today.
Each.
No, I think that was like
the whole family?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Each.
Stop trying to make it worse. Maybe your
This is like an
50
Air
was
Canada
right.
flight to Vancouver.
If we do the math, maybe your $50 guess was right.
Okay, so do you want another fun fact?
I do.
Okay, so before they boarded the Titanic, they were in Egypt, and Alice ran into a fortune teller who told her, do not travel on the open sea.
No.
Yeah.
That's some Final Destination stuff right there.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. But they did. I mean, fortune tellers in Egypt. Who's going to listen? So they traveled on the Titanic. Mark and Charles, being gentlemen, were lost in the disaster, but Mary, Mabel, Alice, and Ethel were taken to safety.
You know, interestingly, the Heritage Report only lists two daughters as having been lost. As having survived.
Really?
Yeah. There seems to be a bit of a conflict there. All of the other sources do list all three daughters as having survived.
Interesting. I will tell you this. All three daughters were too old for Leonardo DiCaprio. All three daughters were too old for Leonardo DiCaprio.
Sorry, say that again?
All three daughters were too old for Leonardo DiCaprio.
Many, many daughters are too old for Leonardo DiCaprio. I also read that Ethel, one of the three daughters, was engaged to another another lost Winnipegger, John Hugo Ross, who boarded the ship with dysentery.
Yes, and he had changed his travel plans to travel on the Titanic with the Fortune family. He was going to take a different ship back.
You know what? Speaking of changed travel plans,
yes,
I also learned...
The segues here are killing me.
I
need a neck brace.
This isn't scripted, I promise.
We would have done much better.
At least one of the two of us can write. Winnipeg's Tom Dunderdale.
Tom Dunderdale, you say?
Yes. Not Dumbleberry. Hey?
Eh?
Hey? Call back. Booked a ticket on the Titanic, but wound up taking an earlier voyage because he was rushed back for work. Yeah. Speaking of
and what
Final
more?
Destination. And what more?
Another Winnipegger who was lost on the Titanic, and I don't know if he was a Winnipegger at the time, but he had been a Winnipegger, was J.J. Borbank.
Tell me about, well,
Okay.
John James Burbank. Let's
Well,
give him
to me, he was J.J. Burbank.
All right. Tell me about J.J. Burbank.
I know nothing about him, but they did name Burbank Street after him. And here's what gets me. Burbank is a pretty big, well-known street in River Heights, right?
It is a beautiful street.
Like, who doesn't know Burbank?
Lots of gorgeous homes. Well received.
Fortune Street? Little tiny street behind the Fort Rouge Community Center.
I'm not even sure I know where it is.
No. It goes between a street and a lane.
Oh.
I'm sure it's lovely, like for the people that live there, but not quite as grand a street as Burbank.
You know, speaking of streets.
And I believe we were. I feel a rant coming on.
This isn't planned.
Hang on, I'm just going to get myself some more of this beer.
So,
sitting back.
did you know? This is a bit of a tangent. This is unrelated to
A
anything.
tangent or a rant?
It's at both.
Okay. A rangent.
Why do I keep doing that? It's almost like I spent most of my life in the 19 something or others.
In the 18...
In 1891, most Winnipeg streets west of Main were renamed sequential numbering. So we had a main street, then we had second, third, fourth, and so on. But that really...
Just like a real city.
Like a real city.
Yeah.
And we had south and north.
Oh.
Yeah. But people hated the change so much, and they mostly ignored it.
I can't imagine Winnipeggers hating change.
Imagine. And some people completely just flat out ignored it and used street names. I can kind of see it. A lot of people would put both. And so eventually they reverted back to names. It really only took, I think, a 2-year period for them to revert back to street names.
Did they go back to the original names, or did they pick all new names?
They went back to the original names with a few exceptions where they wanted to fix duplications and things like that. So there's a couple streets that got renamed in that process, but not many.
Huh.
Yeah.
It wasn't so much a rant, it's just an extended fun fact.
Well, I thought it was a tangent, not a rant.
If it was a tangent, you would be like, we need to go back to the numbered streets.
Oh.
Do you think?
Oh, I do. I am fond of numbered streets. I think that there's a lot of logic to that, especially because our streets are...
random?
Well, they're for the most part on a grid. Not for the most part, but in large part on a grid. And so numbered streets make a lot of sense and make things predictable. Gives you a sense of distance.
Yeah.
Anyway.
It's so un-Winnipeg, though.
It is. And that's that. That's it for the tangent.
That's it for the tangent. Can I offer you a butterscotch candy?
Oh. From where does this butterscotch candy come?
Well, recently we purchased our waiting candy from Nutty Club.
Oh, our listener might recall.
Yeah, they might recall. And I think that the plan was we were going to have a feast of candy, but we maxed out at about 5.
I think it was 3.
And I was at the dentist today.
Oh.
So we best take it easy and spread these out over the next 52 weeks. But the candy that I've selected for you today is the butterscotch, because I thought this was something nice and old ladyish. Like you might find.
What?
It's just a butterscotch.
It's just called a butterscotch.
It's a butterscotch.
All right.
There's a little ASMR.
Well, if you're going to do
for
that,
listener.
open it.
Oh, I guess I could open it. Here's yours. Other Rebecca?
If you're going to put us through that.
So these were my favorite candies when I was little, which just goes to prove that I'm an old soul. I've always thought that the name Rebecca is best suited to a 9-year-old or a 90-year-old, and nothing in between. Sorry, Rebecca.
I'm out Rebecca here.
How is that for butterscotchy goodness? Now, can you imagine me pass that in church?
Mm-hmm. Mm-mm.
Too lively for the Lord's Day? I think you'll find it pairs delightfully with beer.
I can't imagine that.
No, it doesn't.
Take it back.
It does not.
Would you say that this is? Would you say that this is the grandfather of a Werther's?
I'd say it's the grandmother of a Werther's, maybe. It's not as well, no, it's not caramelly. It's butterscotchy. Did we want to say anything else about the fortunes? We should mention, though, the house at 383 Wellington, when the Fortune ladies returned, they were only there for another 8 years. They moved out of that house in 1920. Originally a 36-room single-family home, now contains between 3 and 6 condo units.
We're not sure how many.
What did your research tell you?
My research told me 6.
My research told me 6, and then I could only find listings for 3 online. But they're beautiful units.
Does that just mean there's 3 of the 6 available?
Maybe, and maybe the other 3 just have never been listed.
Yeah, I can't imagine that's the case.
It's a huge house, and there's a big carriage house down by the river too.
Yes. That carriage house. Well, okay, so I feel like I'm only talking about real estate value here, but it does seem, it does seem fitting given our owner.
Yeah.
Do you want to hazard a guess at the cost of that home? 393 Wellington Crescent?
Ooh, when it was built?
Yeah.
Okay, how much was the Fortune block? What was my guess?
You guessed 30,000 for the
It was
Fortune.
35,000.
That's correct.
I'm guessing.
Wait, before you guess.
Yes.
The average home cost $3,000 at the time.
Okay, then my guess is $27,000.
It cost $30,000.
Shiza.
You could have almost built another Fortune block for the cost of that home.
Wowza. And units now go around $650,000. $600,000? Yeah.
6 to 7, I think you
$600,000 to $700,000.
Yeah. Yeah.
Dang.
That's incredible. Oh, the architect of that home
Yes.
was William Wallace Blair.
Oh, noted.
For
Other things.
Thanks for coming out.
The baseball stadium.
Nope. Thanks for playing. The Raws.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
That's pretty cool.
Super cool.
We have to talk about that building
We should.
in a future episode.
Yeah.
If we don't get canceled. And not canceled in the sense that people get canceled, but literally someone's going to come here and take away our mics.
This might be a good time to maybe buy those
Is
two.
it a cancellation or a cease and desist?
All of the above. First, we lost all our sponsors. Now this.
I've offended Leonardo DiCaprio.
I really thought he was a shoo-in.
The man is 3 years younger than me. I can't imagine dating a 25-year-old.
Well, trouble. What else do we have at 393 Wellington Crescent?
It's across the street from Executive House.
It is. That's going to be a future episode.
I'm so excited.
I lived on Wellington Crescent for a brief time.
In the Little Red Library. Behind the Little Red Library.
You're a stalker. How did you know?
I watched you from the riverbank. You did. You lived
Literally
down
next,
the crescent.
No, literally next to the Little Red Library.
Really?
Yes.
In the apartments? Condos? Units?
Something or other.
Yeah.
Father is still there.
Oh, there.
Yep.
Ah.
Are you aware of the Winnipeg Hotel, which is the building?
It's older than the Fortune block.
Do you want to just slam that book shut again?
Hang on.
For everyone?
I was just about to read from this book, but what's that? Do you have another fact?
So the building south of our beloved Fortune block,
Yes.
is the Winnipeg Hotel.
Yes.
I have a note that says it's the oldest building in Winnipeg.
Well, maybe, because the oldest building in Winnipeg is in St. Boniface.
That's not in Winnipeg.
Right. But it is now.
But it wasn't at the time.
Right.
That was an entirely different city.
Yes. But now it would be.
Okay, so
Can we agree that St. Boniface doesn't exist?
we can agree. That river may as well be an ocean. The building that existed between the Fortune Block and the Winnipeg Hotel was the... Would you like to guess?
It's a beer garden now, is it not?
It's some sort of interstitial space,
Interstitial.
if I may.
Okay. Yes.
Liminal space, if I may.
The juxtaposition of nothing and nothing.
Wow. Are we going to work the word juxtaposition into every episode?
Literally.
I think we should.
Every episode. Okay, so it's a subliminal space.
A subliminal space. I think that there's all kinds of really cool things happening in that space.
Like a beer garden.
And
Concert venue.
all kinds of things.
Operated by the Times Change.
Yep.
Yes.
All sorts of different...
So what was there?
The Dominion Hotel.
Oh.
It's demolished now.
Clearly.
But if you should find yourself lucky enough to gaze upon the streetscape at that time, you'd see it's pretty underwhelming, actually. But the Winnipeg Hotel, which is still there, is much nicer and also owned by the Pollard family, and there are future plans to redevelop it.
As a hotel or as office space?
Well, I think...
Or residential. Oh.
I don't think it's been determined yet.
But let's speculate wildly.
Let's pick all the things. I'd like to see a library. Maybe a grocery store.
Will there be a water park?
You heard it here first, folks. Winnipeg's newest water park at the old Winnipeg Hotel.
With slides that come right out onto Main Street and into the derelict Main Earls.
Oh, no. If you go fast enough, you can make it to the river. I'd like you to cue up a reading.
Yes.
For our dear listener.
Colonel Astor then inquired the number of the boat which was being lowered away and turned to the work of clearing the other boats and reassuring the frightened and nervous women. By this time the ship had begun to list frightfully to port. This became so dangerous that the second officer ordered everyone to rush to starboard. Yeah, that'll do it.
All those heavy people.
Oof. I should say that I'm reading from a copy of The Story of the Wreck of the Titanic.
Not the Edmund Fitzgerald?
Published in 1912.
Okay.
And it's a stinky little fragile book, but it's a treasure. This great ocean liner, representing the acme of ship construction, went to her ruin after striking a huge iceberg in her course, an accident which probably was unavoidable.
Unthinkable.
Was unavoidable. Through greater care might have been exercised in the matter of speed.
Wait, is that saying that if they had hit it at a different speed, they might have been okay?
Or
they might not have hit it.
They might not have hit it if they
were. Yeah.
2,340 passengers.
Wow.
Set sail. How many went down?
I don't know that. I know that it was 130 Canadians.
It was like 2/3.
I don't know.
Okay, well, I thought you were the foremost expert.
I did not research. 130 Canadians were on board the ship. 48 of them survived.
Oof. Oof. Apparently in the Fortune family, they just don't talk about it. Or they didn't talk about it. I don't know who's all left.
That seems like it would have been a tough thing to talk about.
Yeah, it was a bit of a family
I
topic of non-discussion.
I did read of an account from Mrs. Fortune about how a man put on a woman's coat and donned a veil, and in this way succeeded in getting on a lifeboat. Oh. The unfortunate part about that was
he went on to win Drag Race.
Put all the rest of the women to shame.
That was sneaky. That was very smarmy of him.
Well, I mean, unfortunately, what it meant was that all of the men who survived, there aren't many, were cast with the same brush. So painted with the same brush.
Painted with the same brush.
They were all at some point accused of having cheated their way off the boat.
Oof. Oof.
Oof.
Oof. Did you know that the renovation of the Fortune Block was award-winning?
I didn't.
It's true. I think Heritage Winnipeg awarded them with...
you know what? You're right.
A Doors Open award.
I went to the open house.
Oh, how was it?
It was great. I got to have a nice tour.
Mm-hmm.
Got to see all the beautiful woodwork.
Mm-hmm.
One of the things that they did when they renovated the building was they lifted the banisters in the staircase because they were very low.
Uh-huh. Because people were short back then.
Yeah.
Really?
No.
Oh.
I mean, Maybe.
Maybe a
I
little
don't really-
shorter.
Yeah. I don't have stats on that.
It was all the boiled onions they ate.
Stunted their growth. The railings were so low that they were. I think that during the course of the renovation, they probably could have avoided raising them, but there was no question they wanted to because it was just unsafe. But there's some really great photos online where you can shift between the original, or not original photo, but the photo pre-renovation and the photo post-renovation. You can slide back and forth and have a look at that.
Cool.
Yep, dare to compare.
Okay, and so because it was declared a heritage site, does that pose any sort of problems for renovating, or do they have to follow a stricter code, stricter set of rules?
I'm not going to be able to really summarize all of the issues, but
but yes.
but yes, when the heritage planner designates a building, and even once the building has been nominated, it undergoes a process where they determine what the CDEs, character defining elements of the building, are, and those are the elements that they endeavor to protect. And so alterations to the building require the heritage planner's review and acceptance, and so it adds one layer to the permitting process. And well, I guess the one other thing is that there is a plaque in Winnipeg.
Mm-hmm.
Where's the plaque? Is the grounds, the village grounds or something?
Is it?
No. I feel like I think we need to Google this.
We're going to Google. There's a Titanic plaque?
There's a Titanic plaque. Plaque is at City Hall.
Oh.
And it's in commemoration.
Like I should know that because I worked at City Hall.
You worked at City Hall.
Oh, yeah, it's like literally outside my old office.
Listener, if you recall, one of our episodes in the future is going to be about the jobs that Roy had in her lifetime. And it'll be the longest episode we've ever done. So this plaque, which was installed in the Winnipeg City Hall, was in commemoration of the Winnipeggers who died in the sinking of the RMS Titanic on 15 April 1912. Is there any value in reading this?
They died that women and children might live. Oh. Except for those few guys that threw on a dress and jumped on a lifeboat.
So they do list Mark Fortune, John Hugo Ross, Thompson Beatty, Charlie Fortune, George E. Graham, your buddy J.J. Borbank. But they do mention who, with 1,484 others, lost their lives when the steamship Titanic floundered in the mid-Atlantic, April 15, 1912. So there's your number, 1,484.
This young guy, George Graham, he was heading to Winnipeg to head the crockery department at Eaton's.
Isn't that sad? I wonder.
That's so sad.
Yeah. We're walking a delicate line here of like being dicks and like acknowledging a tragedy, you know?
It's fascinating though, hey?
It is.
This guy was secretary treasurer of the Winnipeg Stock Exchange.
What guy?
Ross.
John Hugo Ross.
He's commemorated by Hugo Street.
He is.
See?
Another great street.
Another great street, and right by my house.
In River Heights.
In Crescentwood.
East River Heights.
At the dodgy end of River Heights. West Transcona. East River Heights.
It's where the two cities meet.
Because St. Boniface doesn't exist. That's actually accurate.
Oh, it's excellent. Okay, so.
Well, when we go to City Hall to do our City Hall episode, we'll go check out the plaque. Father, might we take a trip on the Titanic?
No.
I heard it's quite the thing.
That's not I've heard things. Speaking of things, what do you get when you cross the Atlantic with the Titanic?
Halfway there. Cue the music.